Hello everyone, my name is Kandalam Venkata Godavari Srividya. In this video, I am explaining my mini project called Travel Trip built using ReactJS. Here, the problem was to build a travel trip application that works smoothly on different devices. The application should allow users to log in, view trips, book trips, and manage journeys. It also supports navigation, state management, error handling, and also responsive design for mobile and desktop. Instead of coding directly, I first planned the solution. My approach was to first understand the requirements, then divide the project into subtasks. Gradually, I built one task at a time. Finally, I tested the project in both mobile and desktop versions. This approach made the development easier and more organized. Here is how I divided the project into subtasks. Now, I will show you the technologies I used in this project. ReactJS, React Router for smooth navigation, Context FEA for avoiding prompt drilling, Cloudinary to upload images, React Icons for icons, CSS for responsive design. This website is designed using Figma. Now I will show you the Figma design in both mobile and desktop devices. This is the page for login. And as you can see, this is the page where there are any authentication errors in login. This is the home page in mobile. And as you can see, these are the pages for book my trip pages in mobile version. As you can see, if there are any errors, we should provide the errors as shown. This is the confirmation page, and this is the successful page. If the details we give are confirmed, we'll get a successful page. After confirming and the successful page arrive, now we can view the details of our trip we booked in My Trips container. If there are no trips, now we'll get an empty trip details. So this is the empty trip details page. If the URL we gave is wrong, now then we'll get a not found view. The design is similar for desktop version. This is the login page as before. If we can change, we can toggle between password and text here for password as save, and if there are any errors, it will be shown as this. And this is the home page, same as before. This is the book my trip page. You can book the details here. As you can give name, start location and end location. And if we click next, then we can go through next. If there are any errors or we didn't give any correct name, the errors will be here like this. And same for the start location and also for the end location. If we give all the details like this, we can click the next button and we'll get a tick like this. Next, for same for the start date and end date, we can give if we didn't give any details, we'll get the error message like this. Same for end date. Or if we did here, if we give end date less than start date, we'll get an error like this. And if we correct it, then we can click the next. Now we'll get date selection as tick. Now we are in guest form. Here we can increase or decrease adults, child or infants. Then we can click next. And now guest form will be checked. Now we are in travel assistant. If we need any travel assistance, we can click the checkbox. If we click the checkbox, we'll get a options like car or bus or flight or train. If we select any of them, we'll get travel assistance values. Here this is the confirm page. Here as you can see, travel assistance is checked. Now we are in confirm page. Now if we confirmed it, the trip is confirm, the details will be going to my trips. And if we cancel this, the entire details will be empty. As we click the confirm, here this will be ticked and we'll get a successful page. We can either create a new trip also. After creating a new trip, after creating the details, we'll get the trip details here. We can either cancel the trip or we can view the trip. If there are trip details are empty, we'll get a page like this. Here we can book the trip. If the URL is wrong, we'll get a not found page like this, similar to mobile. Now I will show you the folder structure of this project. This is the folder structure of this project. App.js for routing and acts as a context provider, and trip context to avoid prop drilling. Login form for authentication and authorization. To create the way to create a trip. My trip component is used to show the trips for which the user has given details for. Book my trip is to book a trip. Nav is used to create a nav bar. And also not found for not found page is for smooth authentication and authorization. Now I'll show app.js page, app.js component. This is the main component and this file is wrapped using trip context to provide functions and values to other components. This avoids prop drilling. Routing is handled in this file to support smooth navigation by using switch.jsx. Here are the functions we provide for different components for these components. Here we also provide two values, two other components, and also toggle theme for toggling the theme to light to dark and vice versa, and add trip for adding the trip and remove trip for removing the trip. Here, now I will show you the context file. To ensure prop drilling, I created trip context.js. This context manages function for adding a trip as a add trip function and a function for removing a trip as remove trip function. And also the each dark theme value checks whether the dark theme is checked or not, and the dark theme provides toggling between light and dark themes. Now I'll show login form container. The login form component is made sure that code authenticates the details given by the user, and if the user authentication is successful, the user can view the main home container, or else they will get the error message regarding the user details given by them. Here, this is the state values for login form component. To change the username, here we use this function, and for password we use this setState change password function. To toggle between whether to show the password or not, we use this function. To submit after the user details are correct, we'll get the submit success function, or not, you will get the submit failure function. This is the submit function for the form for login form component. We use even the default functions done by the submit button. Here we'll give username and password we took from here, username and password functions in the state, and we create an object called user details. This is the URL for login. Now we create an options method for posting, and we'll stringify this user details. From that we'll get a response response by fetching this URL and options. After that, we'll get the data. If the response.ok is true, then we'll get the response is successful. So we'll use submit success function. Here, the submit function will get history from the props. We set the cookies called jvt underscore token as jvt token. This expires after 30 days, and we'll set the page to home so that we cannot come back. If the response is failed, we'll use submit failure function. Here we'll get the error message and we'll set the isShow error to true. Now the render page. Here we'll get the JVT token from the cookies we set earlier. If the JVT token is not true, not undefined, we'll redirect to, and this is the JSX for login form. This is the input details, label and input for username, and same for password, label and input for password. Here, this is where we toggle between whether to show password or not by using isShowed value. By clicking the login, we'll get to submit function, handle submit function. If the error, if it is not, if the show error is true, then we'll get the error as below. Here you can see the login form is wrapped between trip context.consumer. Now let me show you the home page. Here home component is also wrapped between trip context.consumer. Here this is where we keep the image, and this is the header, and this is the description. This is where we can go to a new trip page. This is the header. The header is also wrapped between trip context.consumer. Here header is in the export default. We wrap this header with router to get history prop. Here for mobile design, and this is the component for desktop design. Here it is the nav logo and home link for my trip link. This is whether to change between the dark theme and normal theme, and this is the logout button. If we click the logout, we'll redirect to login page. Let me show you the function. Here as you can see, when we click the logout button, cookies will be removing the JVT token, and as we told before, we'll get history from the props, and by using history we'll replace to login. That's it. Here we use protected root for smooth authentication. Here as you can see, we'll get the JVT token from the cookies we set in the login form. As we got the JVT token, if the JVT token is undefined, we'll be redirected to login. Else we will be set to the component we clicked. Here, this is the not found page. This not found page is also wrapped with trip context.consumer to access eStack theme. This is the JSX for not found component. This is the image, this is the heading, and this is the description. Now I'll show you book new trip component. Here, as you can see, this is the step list for each step in the book new trip component. And this is the travel assistant object for array for selecting the details for travel assistant steps. This is the state values for book new trip we used. This has the update completion for updating every step after completing this, after giving the details in each step. This is for changing the name, and this is for start location, changing the start location. This is for getting the end location, and start the same for start date and end date. For on click minus adults, we'll get if details if adults are greater than 2, then we can uh, uh, decrease the adults. The same for children and infants. For clicking, if we click the plus, then we'll get adults as +1. Same for children and infants. If the this is for checking the travel assistance checkbox. This is for selecting the active travel for travel assistance. Let me show you the main container. Here, this is the main container. This is also wrapped between trip contest.consumer. For accessing the values is the trip and add trip function for adding the trip. Here, as you can see, we in the JSX we have header component and also this dot get basic form with parameters as isDartTip and add to get the form. In the get basic form, this is the JSX. This is the JSX for sidebar for desktop version. If step is completed, we'll get a tick option. If not, the number will be there will be number. If number is active, if it is currently going on as active step, then it will be number active icon or it will be number icon. And the name of the icon. If it is active, then it will be active step active name or step name. This is for mobile options. Here, as you can see, if the step is active, we'll get active HR line CSS or HR line. Active HR line will be showing the blue line. HR line will be showing the white line. If the booking is confirmed, we'll get the render success function. If not, we'll get render all forms. We'll send the same details to both render all forms and render success. Here, as you can see, this is the render all forms function. Here we have parameters as isDartTip and add. We'll get active step from the state. According to the active step, if which step is going on, that form will be rendered. For user it will be render user details. For render date, it will be render details, and render guest, it will be render guest, and travel assistance. And for confirming details, it is render confirming details. If there is nothing going on, that will be null. This will be render success form. This is the JSX. As you can see, this is the image of tick option and heading and description. This is the button where it will be submitted. We can get a new trip. Now, now let me show you the users uh, function. Render user details function. This is a JSX. It will be returning. This is for name. We'll get this is the label name, and the input will be getting. If there is any error, there will be here. There will be an icon which will be showing if it is wrong, and what it will show what is wrong. We will get enter your name. The same for start location. This is the label and this is the input. We'll get the input here. We didn't give any start location. We'll get the icon here like this, and we'll get the error like this. The same for end location. Label and input. If error, icon like this, and error text like this. Here when we click the next option, we will be changing to next render form. Here after clicking the next here, the submit function of user details will be rendered. This submit function of next details user details will be shown as follows. Event.prevent default for any default operations. If the username is empty, user empty as true. If else, it will be false. For start location, if empty, it will be true or else false. For same as end location, if empty, end location will be true or else false. If end location is not empty and start location is not empty, then we'll get active step. The active step will be increased to next step, step list.1 step ID. So now we'll update completion for step list.step ID of 0 as true. Now for render date form, the second form step list. Here we'll give the start. Here's the heading and description, and to give this is the label for start date, and here is where we give input. If start date is not given, then we'll get this symbol, and if we didn't give start date, this will be the error. This is same for end date. Here we'll get the this is the label and this is the input we'll give, and here same for symbol and this is symbol and error text for end date. If end date is given less than the start date, we'll get the error as here like this. Here if we click the previous button, will be rendered to previous user details function. If not, we'll be going to guest list. Here as you can see, this is the previous user details. Then we'll be going to step list 0, that is user details, and it will in the update completion. Here we'll keep step list as user details for false. This will be changing the value of user details to false. That means the step is not completed yet. After we click the submit, it will be submitting as like this. This is the submit function for the form of date function. Here this is the same for user details. This is similar as user details. The start date is empty, we'll get a start date as true, and start date is true. That means there will be error. And same for end date, end date will be true. And if end date is less than start date, then end date less will be true. That means it will be showing that end date is less than start date. So we have to change according to that. Here, if start date is not empty and end date is not empty, and in that, if end date is greater than start date, we will be going to the next form. That is random guests. This is the JSX. Here will be, this is the heading of the form, and we have to set the test. This is the description. Here we will be giving the details. But this is the adults and description for adults. And here this is the button for if to decrease the value for adults, or this is the number of adults will be getting, it will be decreasing here. And this here the number of adults will be total will be increased by clicking the button here. This is the same for children. This is the heading of children and description for children. Same, if we click the minus, so the number of children will be decreasing. Here when we click the plus, number of children will be adding. Same for infants, minus for decreasing and plus for increasing. Here the same as date. Here when we click the previous, it will be going to date. Else if we click the next, we'll be going to the travel sessions. As you can see, if we click the previous details, we'll be going to the date, will be changing according to that. And on click next travel, as this is the submit function for guest form. Here we'll be changing the active step to next form, next of guest to travel assistants. Now we'll be going to this function. Here this JSX is JSX is this, and here if we click the travel assistance, here if we click the travel assistance, we'll get the select function, select JSX. Here we used a map function to iterate over every option. If we click the value of travel assistance will be changed according to that. Here the same as guess. We have previous and we have next. If we click the previous, we'll be going to the guest form, or else next we'll go into the confirm details. Here, as you can see, if we click the previous guest details, and we'll get the active step as before one, and update completion will be false for this one before one. And next confirm details, here active step will be increased, and update array of index of step list will be increased here. Update completion will be completed for true for this step list 3 dot step id. Here after this we'll be going to the render details. Here will be, this is the JSX. Here we'll be showing all the details we got from all of the forms. Username from the user details, start locations from the same user details, end location user details, start date and end date from date details. Here this 3 from guest details, and each travel check from travel systems. If checked, we'll get what we got from travel systems. If we click the cancel, every details will be cancelled and everything will be set to and if we confirm that trip, we'll get the new trip. Here as you can see, this is the on-click cancel function. We'll change all the values to empty or to default. I'll search one as before and everything as empty. Travel assistance checked as false and travel assistance as empty. Active step will be starting one, that is user details. Each booking confirmed will be false. Here as you can see, by using the update completion, we'll be changing all the completed to false. Here on click confirm, here this is the function for on click confirm. If we click confirmation and confirming the details. If we click the confirm, this function will be here. We set is into true. As the previous statement is false, we'll get the true function here, and we'll set the last step to true. Now we'll get the success container. Here we'll be getting the success container. After booking a new trip, we'll get, as shown before, if we click on the book a new trip, we'll be changing all the values to empty as before, and we'll get the user details rendered. This is all about book a new trip. Now I'll show you the my trips container. This is also here in the book a new trip. Here in the book a new trip, here we'll be adding the trip to the context by giving the travel object here as ID by using UUID and end location, start date and end date. We'll get a trip object in trip list. Now I'll be showing you the my trips. Here is where we'll get the my trips details. If the trip details is empty, we'll get the no trips container. This is the image, heading, description, and if we click the book in new trip, we'll be going to the book new trip component. If not, if trip list length is not equal to 0, we'll be using the ULJS. Here, trip list from the context is iterated using map function, where for each element in the trip list will be set using it for trip item component. We'll be using these details for trip item component. Now we'll be going to the trip item component. This is the trip item component. This is where we will get the details, all these details from the trip list. From here, my trips. Here we keep the end location, date from start date to end date, and if we click the cancel, we'll be using the remove trip value from travel context, and each active for toggling between light to dark. This is same for all components. Here, by using remove trip, we will be removing the trip. Here, on clicking the cancel, this function will be called. Here, after calling the function, here this remove trip will be called by using this ID. Here, by using this ID, the following trip with this ID will be cancelled. Now I'll be showing the final output. Here, as you can see, this is the final output. Now I'll be showing in the desktop option. Here, the username is Rahul. Here, as you can see, we can toggle the password. Now let me log in. The username is Rahul. The password is Rahul@2021. You can toggle. Here you can see my password is wrong. Let me correct it. Yes. We can toggle between password to text. When we click the login, here this is the home page. When we click the book and muted button, we'll get the book muted component. Here we can give name as Rahul and start location as Vijayawada and end location as Hyderabad. On clicking next, we'll get start date and end date form. I'm using tomorrow's date, and if I give end date less than, we'll get this error. So we should correct this error. Now the form is complete. As you can see, there is no error. By clicking here previous, we'll get to previous. This is the guest form. We can increase or decrease. As you can see, we can increase or decrease. For the same for infants. If we click the next, we'll go to travel assistance. If we click the travel assistance as checked, we'll get set options like car or flight or bus or train. Let me click the train. If we click the next, we'll get the confirmation details. We can either click cancel to cancel the trip or confirm to confirm the trip. If we confirm the trip, we'll get the like this. Now let me, if we click book and muted, we'll get again. Now let me show you the My Trips. This is the My Trips container. Here we can cancel or we can view the trips. If we click the cancel, it will be no trips. Now let me show you the desktop version. This is the desktop version of My Trips. If there are no trips, it will be. We click the logo, we can go to home container. Here we can book the trip. This is same as the mobile option. We can toggle between dark to light. If we click the logout, we can go out from the page, from the project. Thanks for watching.